What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here bringing the latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. So, a bit to talk about today. So, let's go right into it. So, February 3rd, and the Nets actually played pretty well the last 3 games. They played well against the Hawks, but fell short because, let's be honest, the Hawks are the Hawks. But they played well in that game. They hung around, and they just fell a little bit short. Hawks went on a run at the end. But overall, they really did play pretty well. Then they played the Raptors, and same exact thing. They were in it the whole game, and then they had a chance to win the game. Brook Lopez had a wide-open jump shot, and he just missed it. And that's just really frustrating because that's a shot Lopez normally makes. And then they lose in overtime to the Raptors. In that game, Lopez had 35 points and 12 rebounds. Jared Jack had 35 points and 13 assists. Fantastic performance by him and Lopez, but they just fell short. So you could see the Nets building up to playing better. I mean, in those games, the Nets have played much better of late. And like I said in my previous videos, I think it's because Brook Lopez is playing well. And Jared Jack is playing with more confidence, and he's playing well. And, you know, when those guys are playing well, the Nets are going to be in most games. I mean, look, the Nets are not as bad as a team as their record shows. You know, they're 19 and whatever. I don't even know how many losses record. I know that. And I still think that, you know, they're going to make the playoffs. I don't believe they won't. You know, I don't think that the bottom teams in the Eastern Conference are good enough or better than the Nets. You know what I mean when I say that? Like, if you look at the standings right now, you know, I don't think Charlotte in particular is really better than the Nets. You know, right now Charlotte's a full, game and a half ahead of them. But I just, you know, Charlotte to me is not that good of a team. So moving forward, I still do expect this Nets team to continue to play well, like they did against the Clippers. So after getting blown out by the Clippers the first time they played them, they go in back at Brooklyn where they couldn't do anything. Remember, they didn't even win one home game in the month of January. They're down 10. I'm thinking this game's over. Then all of a sudden, Joe Johnson starts making threes. Brook Lopez gets a great back tap. And then Allen Anderson hits a 4-point play. Next thing you know, the Nets, it's a tie game again with 8 seconds left. And Jared Jack hits a game-winning shot. And it's like, whoa, fantastic. And like we said, you could see it building up. You saw the game against the Hawks. Okay, they played poorly, but they played well. They played well most of the game, but they fell apart at the end. Okay, but they still played well. Then you saw it against the Raptors. They played very well, had a chance to win that game, and just didn't execute, and then lost in overtime. So they got a little bit better, and then finally they go and they take it to the next level, and they win against the Clippers. Fantastic win. Big thing about that game, though, was Darren Williams was back. And he put up 15 points and played very well. Better to see. Not very well, but, you know, good. Good enough that you're happy to see it. And let's be honest, they needed him back. Because, like I said, Darius Morris was okay, but he's not a reliable backup player. And now if you look at this Nets team now, with Darren Williams back, and Jared Jack playing the way he's been playing, and Brook Lopez playing the way he's been playing, and Bogdanovic had a good game that game, hitting some threes. You can see why this team has played better the last 3 games. Now, does that mean this team's going to go on a crazy Atlanta Hawks winning streak, which was also snapped last night? But still, no. But it means that this team is probably going to start playing better. Does it mean that they're going to be a 48 win team? No. Does it mean they're going to be over 500? I still think so, but most importantly, I think they will make the playoffs. That being said, they still need to continue to build off of this. Now, the next few games for the Nets, a little bit easier. I mean, they still got the Raptors on Wednesday. That's going to be a tough game because, we know how good the Raptors are, even though they came very close to beating the Raptors. So we'll see what happens there. But then they got the Knicks, who, let's be honest, they got to be able to beat the Knicks, right? I mean, the Knicks are one of the worst teams in basketball right now, but who knows? But they should be able to win that game. And then they got the Washington after that. Now, they beat Washington once this year. So the way I look at it, the way this team has played, if they played the way they played the last 3 games, there's no reason they don't go at least 2-3 these next 3 games. So, and I'm going to expect that. I'm going to expect that. They're playing very well now. Darren Williams is back. And Darren Williams did not look like a piece of garbage like he normally does when he plays hurt. Because I don't think he's hurt. I think his ankles were hurting him again towards, before he hurt his ribs. And he was really struggling there. And then when he broke his ribs, that was like the best thing in the world. Because now he was resting, not just his ribs, but his ankles. Because he looked much better, much spry. And I think that's a big, important thing for Darren Williams and the Nets going forward. If he can come back and play healthy, I think that's great. I think that, when you're getting good contribution from multiple guys like the Nets are, this is why they're playing better. And really, the Hawks lost was because they didn't execute well down the stretch, and the Raptors loss was also because they didn't execute well down the stretch. But then they executed very well down the stretch against the Clippers. So I think that this team really is taking some strides in the right direction. I know it's kind of like, all right, whatever. They dug themselves a big hole, but they really didn't, because they just got to make the playoffs. Are they going to be a top seed? No. Are they going to be 48-win team? Like I said, no. Heck, they may not even be higher than the 6th seed or the 7th seed. I mean, because Milwaukee's starting to play pretty consistent well. I mean, they might not be that high, but the way I look at this team, the way they played the last 3 games, and the way they're building up, and now that Lopez is back and Darren Williams is back, I mean, Lopez has been back, but playing the way that we expect Lopez to be playing. Lopez has played phenomenal the last few games. He really has. And then Darren Williams being back, and so on, and yes, he lost to Ledovich, but now Jarrett Jack is playing. I think this team really is gonna go on a decent run. I don't, like I said, I'm not expecting a crazy winning streak, because there's still some tough games they have left. But I think they're going to start winning more games than people think, and I think they're going to climb up into the 7th and even the 8th seed. The 8th and even the 7th seed in the East. And I think come the All-Star break, which is, I think, 6 games away, I think they're going to be in the 8th seed or 7th seed by then, and I think you're going to see this team continuing to be there the rest of the year. Barring a dumb trade by Billy King, which we all know Billy King likes to kind of do some dumb trades here and there. Look, with Lopez playing well has probably increased the interest of teams wanting him. I've said it a million times. I don't think they should trade Lopez. I don't think they should trade Joe Johnson. I don't think they should trade Darren Williams. The problem has been with this team is health. Beginning of the year, Brook Lopez missed games because he was hurt. So they weren't fully healthy. There is Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, and other people. Then, Brook Lopez came back, but then Darren Williams was not himself because he had the more hurt ankles. Even though they didn't say anything and he still played every game, he was clearly not the same player. And neither was Lopez, because it took him some time to get back into the flow of things. And the next thing you know, he's not playing well. So the team wasn't playing 100% then. Then he really does get hurt. So now, you have to start in Jarrett Jack and Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez, but then Joe Johnson kind of is hurt with tendonitis, and he has been hurt for the last few games, and only he's slowly coming back. But now, then he gets better, and then Darren Williams, comes back. But you see what I'm trying to say? The truth is, if you look at all the games the Nets have played this year, they've played, 43, 44 games? I'm not even joking. I think maybe only about 10 of those games have the Nets been fully healthy. When I say fully healthy, I mean they have their majority of their players, because no team's ever truthfully fully healthy. And, Ledovich will be out for the rest of the year, so they'll never be fully, truly healthy. But if you look at it, the main players, the main core of Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, and Brook Lopez, those 3 main guys, the Nets have, I guarantee you, fully health-wise, when all 3 of those players are fully healthy, or relatively fully healthy like they are now, I guarantee you that's only been about 10 games this season where all three of them have been relatively healthy. I guarantee it. And that explains their record. Because when you I've always said it before, I always make reference to it. The equation of success for the Nets, I always put up three fingers because it involves Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez, and Darren Williams. And when one of those players is down, or two of those players are down, the Nets' chances of winning drop. Now, and that's exactly what happened during these stretch of games where they were on this losing streak because they were not fully healthy. That's why I'm hoping Billy King realizes this. I'm hoping that some of you Net fans realize this, that it will be a little foolish to trade these players away when this team is still has the potential to be really good. Now, I know people are saying, but NetsBoy, this team's not winning a championship. It doesn't. Even if they do get better, they're not better than any other team. And I want to argue that with this. Name one team you think is that dominant this year. I mean, yes, the Hawks had that ridiculous winning streak, and yes, the Warriors have the best record, but it's kind of really open. And I'm not saying the Nets are going to win the championship, and I'm not saying that you should expect them to, but I'm saying in such a wide open year, you really can't pinpoint who exactly will win it. I mean, yeah, we have some teams that we expect. I think just making the playoffs and maybe getting a decently favorable matchup in the first round could help them. And what do I mean by favorable? Well, say the Nets actually get as high as the 6th seed and they play Washington in the first round. Washington's a very good team. But the Nets have beat them this year, and personally I think they have the tools to compete and beat a Washington team. Maybe then they face a team like Toronto. Toronto's a very tough team, but, I mean, look, never overestimate veteran leadership. And I'm going to be straight up honest, I don't think we've seen the true ability of this Nets team. Greg Popovich, after the Nets beat the Spurs, if you remember that, beat the Spurs, he said that is a very good team and that he thinks that the Nets are going to be one of the better teams in the league, that they just have to develop and play on a consistent level. And I think so too. I do. If they can continuously play with Brook Lopez, Darren Williams, and Joe Johnson playing relatively healthy, getting great contribution from Plumlee, great contribution from Jared Jack, great contribution from Alan Anderson. I mean, I think they could definitely go on a nice run of a nice 7-3 stretch, maybe 6-4, and shock some people. And I think that Billy King should not trade away this team. And here's what I want to say. I mean, it's not like making a big move now is going to do anything to increase your chances of making the playoffs. Like trading away Brook Lopez and getting JaVale McGee, J.J. Hickson, and a draft pick or two or something like that is going to make the Nets, from where they are now, better. If anything, it's just going to be kind of pointless. If you're going to break up this core, personally, wait until the end of the season. Wait until the off season. Okay? Because, first of all, the off season, Brook Lopez, if he opts into his player option, which who knows, he may not, he's then a favorable trading player. Now I know a lot of people saying, oh, wait, if you want to trade Lopez, you want to get something back from him, what if he doesn't opt in? I think Lopez would opt in. I know his agent might say to test free agency, but I think an injured-prone center who's an inconsistent rebounder, and even though he's great offensively, I don't think he's going to get more money than the $16 million he's promised. Plus, he likes playing for the Nets. I'm going to roll a dice there if I was Billy King. If I was Billy King, roll a die and say Lopez would probably opt in. So if you do want to trade Lopez, trade him after he opts in, or trade him next season. Joe Johnson's contract would be more desirable because even though it's still really big, it would be expending contract then going into that. And Darren Williams, whatever, same thing. I'm going to be honest, the teams that have been interested in those three players are teams that would probably be interested in those 3 players come the offseason. Especially a team like the Nuggets, which has been the latest rumor with Brook Lopez. The Nuggets aren't making the playoffs, even with Brook Lopez. That trade would clearly be a move for next season if they're the Nuggets. So that's a move for next season. Why not wait until the offseason? You know what I mean? Because roll the dice with this team. This team has the potential to play very well when they're healthy. They just haven't been fully healthy. We saw it these last 3 games. They've been playing much better because they're being relatively healthy. Against the Clippers, they're healthy. They got contribution. They got 24 from from Brook Lopez, 22 from Joe Johnson, 15 from Darren Williams. That's what they got to do. And so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not start trading away players. The way I look at it, give this core and see how they play health-wise before you try to blow it up. And see what you've got with this team. Look, this Brooklyn Nets team is better than Charlotte, okay? They're better than Miami, all right? To me, they're better than Milwaukee, though Milwaukee's played well. I think if you watch this team play, you'd agree. They're better than Milwaukee, they're better than Miami, and they're better than Charlotte. They're the 6th best team in the East, really, with the team they have. It's just that they haven't played that way because they've had a lot of injuries. And really, that's it. I mean, a lot of injuries. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not trade away people. Let's watch this team going forward. Now, I was going to talk about the All-Star game and the All-Star reserves and the Slam Dunk contest, which is including Mason Plumlee and all that stuff. But I'm thinking I'm going to wait for next video to do that, which will be the last video before the All-Star break, because that would be a nice, fun video to do. And then that might be a long video. That might be a midway wrap up. Nah, I'm not even gonna really do a midway wrap up because technically the halfway point of the season was last week. I don't think I really need to do a first half of the season wrap up show. But next episode will probably be my All-Star show where I discuss some of the All-Stars that made it and discuss the fact that Mason Plumlee's in the Slam Dunk contest, which is really like the NBA people saying, like, well, we need representatives from the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks because it's going to be in New York. And since Carmelo got voted onto the All-Star team because, it's all about what the fans want to see, because obviously Carmelo Anthony has certainly not been an All-Star this year because he hasn't played enough games to really matter, but whatever. They said, we got to grab a net to make sure he's in the All-Star game or All-Star festivities, and since the Slam Dunk contest is in the Barclays Center, let's grab Plumlee. Look, I'll just say this. No, I'm not going to get involved. I'll wait until next week because I'll be able to talk about it then. But I was going to say that, Plumlee in the Slam Dunk contest might be kind of amusing in a bad way. But anyway, I'll talk about that next episode. But moving forward here, the Nets next few games. Like I said, they got Toronto. Got to try to win that. The Knicks. Washington. Like I said before, anything that's less than 2-3, I feel like be a little bit of a disappointment. I think they can definitely go 2-3 the next few games, and they just got to continue to build. They got to continue to build off of this, and we'll see what happens going forward. So to wrap everything up, Nets playing better. Don't blow up this team. Give them an opportunity now that they're relatively fully healthy, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Is there another point I made? I don't think so. But anyway, so until then, this is NetsBoy, signing off.